Welcome to the exclusive PMEA How to Retire Guide. Hello, I'm Paul Fox. Yes, this is my last school picture I had when I retired in 2013 from the Upper St. Clair School District. I was a music teacher and the performing arts curriculum leader with a little more than 35 years of experience in the profession. As of right now, December 2018, I am your PMEA Retired Member Coordinator. Currently, I serve in a number of capacities for PMEA. I volunteer pushing wheelchairs at the local hospital. I conduct a community orchestra on Saturdays. I still announce for my marching band. And then I spend the rest of my time writing articles, blog posts about music education. Now, the motivation for doing this video, so many people I know, teachers and administrators, tell me they hate retirement. I believe that a lot of the turmoil in transitioning to retirement has to do with misinformation and a lack of preparedness. And although many leave their job maybe before they should, even more cross the Rubicon without a cursory introduction to what they need to know and what they need to do. So the purpose of this, it's about 40 minutes presentation, is to advise you the steps towards a smooth transition to retirement. We're going to do homework, finances, goals, and networking. We'll share resources, places to go, and people to consult about relevant issues for your preparations to living the dream. We're going to familiarize you with the basics. In most cases, it's not about the money. I've always said that. And although you do have to prepare a retirement budget, plan future pension and or Social Security disbursements, and complete a full review of your assets, liabilities, investments, health and umbrella insurance policies, mortgages, etc., accordingly, this is really not about the money. The disclaimer is I'm not an attorney, I'm not a financial advisor, nor an expert on retirement. Like you, I hire them. But my qualifications, I've made more than probably a dozen presentations for music teachers at conferences, workshops, and festival meetings. This is really just a mini presentation. My focus today is what's coming and making new and renewed personal goals towards self-reinvention during your post-full-time employment years. So we have a neat thing here. As you consume these slides, have a pad of paper next to you and jot down anything you want to revisit or sources to explore. You can see there's a page number at the top right-hand side, and of course you can always use the pause button or slide ahead or behind. Just remember what page number you're on. Okay, let's get started. Step one, T-minus 3 years, and I say more or less. Ha ha, don't you love it when a teacher assigns homework even before he introduces the lesson material? Well, I guess I'm going to have to resemble that normal bad practice. Who said, I bet you know who this is, who said knowledge is power? The quote is attributed to Francis Bacon, but in 1817 letter to George Ticknor, Thomas Jefferson expanded it to equate knowledge with power, safety, and happiness. So this section should provide you all the knowledge you could ever need. I always say your first stop is to go to the PMEA website. Go up there and find focus area and retired members. That's the link in front of you. But go and kind of peruse all the sections. And don't be afraid to come back often. There are a lot of archived articles. There is all the past issues of Retired Member Network e-news. There's a PMEA retirement slideshow. And probably the most important document up there is this thing called Ultimate Retiree Resource Guide. It's a comprehensive bibliography of everything you always wanted to know about retirement. I also have duplicated it on my website. And one of the advantages of having your own website, I can put all these things in and update them. I also have probably one of the past slide presentations of a PMEA summer conference session, Retirement 101, Retiree Stories and Strategies. Recommend taking a look at that slide handout. So you really owe yourself to get involved with purchasing a book or two. These are just some of my favorite books. In fact, if you go to those Retired Network e-news, you'll find a book report every month. Excuse me. You owe yourself to take a look at a few of these. These kind of books, self-help books, are usually in one of three styles or formats. Reference manual, which is you could go in and read any chapter in any order and pick on the things that interest you. Or a tutorial, and that, as you would know as teachers, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, you have to take it in sequential order. And there are a few out there that are what they call fictional narrative, basically a story of the characters enacting concepts they want you to learn. And again, you don't have to write any of this down. Just go to that ultimate guide to find the titles. One of my favorites on this list is the third one on the top row from the left, Smooth Sailing into Retirement by Dave Hughes. He's written a lot of books, and he also has an excellent website you should go visit. And this is Ernie Zielinski. He's a Canadian. He's written some fantastically funny, lighthearted books. The one in the middle is the one I give to my family and friends when they're getting ready to retire. How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free. So when you look at all these materials, people are going to give you a lot of ideas. For example, Sydney here says, 7 secrets to a happy retirement. I hope you have your health. Someone you can share your time with. A social network with friends. Avoidance of heavy TV viewing. The experts are saying 2 hours or more focused watching of a television is unhealthy. Intellectual curiosity. In the schools, we used to say the flavor of the month, where we have to learn some sort of an in-service program. Sometimes we wanted to, and sometimes we didn't. But now, when you're no longer working, you need to find your own brain-stimulating events. Not being addicted to achievement. This is even hard for a retired person. And can you imagine music teachers not having a little bit of this, being defined by your job? You have to work on that. Even I still have to work on that. And of course, enough money. You have to have enough money. Now, some of the issues that are discussed in my full-length presentations and all these articles that we put up, you should review. For example, the definitions and myths of retirement, how to find purpose and mattering in retirement, the problems of transitioning, encore careers, pets, travel, hobbies. I think you get the idea. Everyone has their view of the steps you should take before you retire. Oh, there are hundreds of them online. I do bring some of them to you. Financial planners, medical professionals, career advisors, gerontologists, those who are experts on aging. There are a lot of these guidelines. I happen to like these two, one from the Balance and one from ARP. Okay, you're on your way now. Step 2, T-minus 2 years or more and counting. Now, I did say this video was not something on how to invest your money, but you should bite the bullet and spend some time with an essential to-do list of personal organization, legal prep, and fiscal management. So we do have to talk about the money. We'll start with your pension. And I hope most of you are lucky enough, as I am, to be in PSERS, the Pennsylvania School Employees Retirement System. We are very much an advantage when you don't bring this up at a cocktail party with mixed company. There's a lot of pension envy out there. We have an incredible advantage over everyone in the private and even other public sectors. I can only think of one benefit of not being in PSERS. If you were planning on being hired full-time in Penn State University or any of the other state-affiliated colleges that use PSERS as their pension fund, if you didn't have PSERS, you could go ahead and start your second career there. These are the things you will do on whatever pension plan you're on. You need to create an online digital profile. For PSERS, they have the presentation called Foundations for Your Future. Attend that in person. These guys do nothing but this presentation, and it's a retirement overview and how you use your pension, how you make some of those decisions. And most of my friends who have gone through this process tell me that they went a couple times. That's kind of worth it because you're going to miss things the first time through. You will be requesting a retirement estimate. When I was doing this, there was a form, we did that. Your online digital presence will also let you do some of that. You should go to their online presentations on the PSERS website, and then you will schedule, and this is very important, a retirement exit counseling session where they really have you fill out those final papers and get things started. That's actually pretty close to 1 year out. If you are married, this will have to be something that you really look at very closely. You have to study the retirement options. For PSERS, they have a lot of different versions of that. Whether or not you want to take your money out and then invest it, that lump sum that you contributed to PSERS, or provide a lifelong annuity for your spouse. And I have to admit, it was easier for me because both my wife and I retired in the same year, and we both chose to take the maximum out. And you probably already know what retirement type you will be. Are you a normal, unreduced benefit retirement? Even that has several different classes. You need to go look at those definitions. Are you early retirement or are you disability retirement? PSERS has revamped their website, so I would recommend digging deeply to reach all of their sections. Even some of these categories you may not be interested in. Maybe you're not into disability or you're not vesting. Their presentations are good. There are a few ones I never knew they had. Impact of changes to life expectancy assumptions, and something called understanding your statement of account that help you figure out what it is you've contributed and how much it's worth. But those two bolded ones, again, you've already heard me say, they actually have presentations to back them up. Foundations for Your Future and Retirement Exit Counseling. Those are critical. Now, after you take care of this pension thing, you may also want to go visit a financial counselor, an estate planner, and an attorney. An elder attorney would be maybe a good idea. Probably all three of these. And when you do this, you bring copies of your bank and investment statements, tax returns, insurance certificates, those reports from PSERS, and I think you have to print them from the online presence, Social Security and annuities reports, etc. Those personal advisors will help you pick the right PSERS retirement benefit because they can look at your entire net worth and give you some recommendations. Now, you know you need to make your intentions clear in writing, and you should never put this off. You need to update your will. How about a trust? This may be essential in taking care of non-adult children, planning for relatives with special needs, or providing care for an elderly family member, or even if you want to plan ahead of time, a legacy for your pet peeves, your charitable projects. You can do this with a trust with an attorney. They can help you. Definitely get a power of attorney. You should know what the difference is between a power of attorney and something like an emergency contact. The latter has no legal standing. You should also get a medical power of attorney. Create a living will and put in writing your health care directives. Make sure your beneficiary forms are up to date. And this is important, a computer and bank password vault. One of my friends, who is a school board member, recently lost her husband. Believe it or not, she was blocked access to any of their joint bank or investment accounts. She did not have any of the passwords. He handled all the finances. She had to rely on his cell phone to get partial control over the estate, which I guess she knew the password to his cell phone. So a paper journal or book or something should list all your current passwords, including your usernames, emails associated with each account, even the credit cards that you might do to renew subscriptions. And although it has to be updated from time to time, and that can be a hassle, it should still be locked up in a safety deposit box away from the dangers of fire, flood, or theft. You don't want to make a mistake with this. You might want to have more than one copy, one that's at the site, maybe locked up in you have an office safe or something. They make some ingenious software apps that help you manage passwords. It will grant you access to everything with this giant master password. And then anytime you need to, you call them up. They might even assist you in creating a password no one can figure out. And I have one called LastPass, which is an annual subscription service, but they make a lot of different ones. And they have a feature called a digital will, that in event that you pass, somebody you designate as your special contact will be granted with their password full access to your password vault. Probably a good idea. This is something nobody really wants to talk about, funeral arrangements. For my mother-in-law, we had to pick out, this is the stupidest thing, the casket lining, whether it should be crepe or silk. Anyone who's ever gone through this to me is an awkward moment, frozen in time at the funeral home. There was an extremely large difference in price, and you know it would not make any difference to the deceased. This was a lot easier to handle the second time around, 7 years later, for the passing of my father-in-law. It's close to home for me. Knowing that my mother was dying of cancer and was trying to make everything easy on her children, she did almost all of the funeral arrangements. This was including a prepayment of the niche, funeral service, and even the selection of the music, because we have a family of musicians. That might have been something we fought over. But good intentions aside, she left out a few details that ended up being a major emotional drain on my caregiver sister. For example, she didn't pick out the urn, the cremation urn. And there's this thing called a body container. Those of you who have gone through this, they use it to place the body in there to go to the crematorium. And they could be a cardboard box or a simulated wood container, all the way up to a $10,000 redwood container. We had to make that decision, not mom. While you're at all this, where have you filed all your important documents? Insurance certificates. Does your spouse or close family members know where to look for these? Again, I sound like a broken record. Don't put this off. Okay, step 3. What do you want to be when you grow up? I ask this at every one of my sessions. This will be more important than hundreds of hours of investment planning and risk management, because this is usually where we fall down. I go back to my buddy Zelinsky. He talks about the basic needs, what work fulfills, and are essential to retirement. Finding purpose, structure in your retired life, and community. This might be the penultimate slide in this presentation. He defines purpose this way. I like that number 1, to make a difference in people's lives. Everyone will have a different list. You need to define purpose and mattering. This is the foundation of personal goal setting. This I could never handle, work-life balance, when I was working as a music teacher. Frequently, both my wife and I would come home briefly, say hello, eat dinner, and go back to school with after-school or evening activities. My pie slices on this graph would be everything at different sizes. The job was probably half the pie. Now in retirement, can you achieve a balance? And actually, are those pie slices exactly the same size? The experts would tell you they should be. You should be looking out for yourself, your community, your family, your friends, your religious, spiritual concerns, hobbies, etc. Put some time in all of them. You can travel down several different retirement pathways based on who you are. These are offered by Dr. Nancy Schlossberg, a very well-known counseling psychologist. She says you could be a continuer. You might want to stay connected with your past skills and activities, just modify them a little to fit retirement. Or maybe you're an adventurer. You want to start some new activities. You're motivated to learn some new skills. And I like it that she suggests like learning to play the piano. Any of those things you always wanted to do, and you already have those plans. However, you might be a searcher, and you're willing to learn by trial and error. Try to find your niche. You haven't found your identity yet. You're going to explore it a little bit. Maybe you're not all that passionate to find this niche. You might want to be an easy glider. You want to enjoy some unscheduled time to go with the flow. You know, what do they say? Mañana for your daily schedule. Some people are involved spectators. They maintain an interest in their previous field. We hope you will continue your interest in music education, but you'll assume different roles. The last bullet on this slide is the negative one. It's the one we hope you don't go through. You might be depressed. You may have retreated from life. You may actually right now have given up even trying to find a new pathway. This is the only negative one in the bunch. And these roadways are likely to change several times through your life passage. This brings up that all too important issue. Ask yourself, are you psychologically prepared to leave your full-time job? Ken Schultz poses these 5 essential questions to see if you're really psyched for retirement. That number 1 is important. How important is your job when it comes to getting a sense of life satisfaction? Now is a good time to self-assess. Are you up for a little self-reflection? Okay, teacher, take the tests. What floats your boat and why? You can take, and there are a variety of places to do these tests on core personality and motivation traits. How do you tend in every situation to think, feel, or act? Interest polls, possibly brainstorming of your bucket list, what you want to do, as they say, before you kick the bucket. Prioritizing goals, career zone survey. Retirement is a major life transition requiring redefining yourself. How do you see yourself right now in 5 years, a decade, or 20 or more years? What do you predict will be your new role in life? And this bolded last bullet is actually the most important thing on this page. Are you communicating your dreams as well as your fears to your closest family members? So here are the books that I suggest you can go to take these tests if you're interested. I didn't do this, but if you really want to define yourself, look up My Next Phase, the personality-based guide to your best retirement, or Shifting Gears to Your Life and Work After Retirement. And Robert Delamontagne has 2 books here, The Retiring Mind and Honey, I'm Home, which actually are very interesting. These involve an assessment tool called the Enneagram, defined as a framework that offers in-depth insight to individual traits and can even compare side by side the compatibility of you and your spouse. A little too late, would you say? This is what it looks like. It's a star that consists of 3 centers of intelligence, 9 main E-types. And those are personality descriptions if you look around the star. Are you a reformer, a lover, achiever? You get the idea. And they say there are 18 wings and 3 subtypes and triadic styles, whatever those are. According to Delamontagne, The Enneagram offers a rich map to personal development and opens up a pathway to self-discovery and greater personal awareness. There are some people that don't notice they have retired. I know several PMEA members who are still paying full dues, even though retired members get a special discount. They're no longer teaching in their schools. And as I guess one person told me, the definition of retirement, you're retired when you take a pension and your mother says you're retired. But there are people who slide right into an encore career right after they leave their first job. And you can see some of those. Higher education, becoming a music education methods teacher or supervising student teachers. Or perhaps you want to go into music industry. Several of my friends I know deliver instruments for the instrumental rental programs and repairs, or maybe get involved to a music store. If you love traveling, you might become a trip organizer. Anything that you do that expands your existing job, and you can do that in a private studio or guest conducting music festivals or composing or directing your school or church ensembles, you name it. That's called encore careers. But this is important. We suggest you revisit your creative roots if you haven't done this already. You want to go back to singing or playing an instrument or doing theater or doing more of these things, all of them. Why did you go into music and education in the first place? What have you always wanted to do? Explore, compose, record, conduct, sing, play, create. Don't forget to find opportunities to rekindle your self-expression. And I have recommended in presentations and articles that you look into doing this creative activity in your daily schedule early, like right now at 10 o'clock in the morning, because that's when you're freshest and it might be something you really want to look forward to do, to get out of bed. This leaves you lots of time for other pastimes. There are a lot of things you can do now that you're retired: babysitting or caregiving, exercise, hobbies, pet care, travel, service to a professional organization, volunteer activities. I think you realize a couple of these cannot be done simultaneously. Personally, I acquired 2 adorable dogs, and I'm working on several phases of home renovation projects. So as you can imagine, my wife and I are not planning any trips or travel for a while. Those don't go together: pets, travel, and renovations. 2 more tips, thanks to Omid Sood, author of the Mayo Clinic Guide to Stress-Free Living. Quote, "Because your brain's reward center likes variety, give yourself an assortment of new or unique experiences." Also, he says, quote, "Treat the first year in retirement as if you are interning to give yourself time to readjust and set new expectations." Yeah, I would suggest more than 1 year of interning. The bottom line, Chuck Neidhart always said, and we could make a bumper sticker out of this: have a plan. Okay, you're almost there. T-minus 1 year and counting. It is assumed that at this stage, prior to the communications of your intentions, you should have already sat down with your spouse or closest family member and mapped out everything. The clock may be ticking. You're 25 years, 27 years, 30 years in the profession. You are the most senior music staff member in your district. They are all out there waiting for your decision. When are you going to retire? And it's none of their business. Well, maybe not. How and when you announce your departure is only partially up to you. Believe it or not, I wrote an article about this, what I call notification circus, entitled "Retirement, It's a Private Matter." There's the link to it. The really, really short version: do not expect any confidentiality or even discretion about this decision. They are all waiting to learn that you've submitted your walking papers. Forget about your desire to fade away from the landscape or go without fanfare or festivities. You can't chalk it up to wanting privacy, or you feel modest or a little shy or awkward socially. Or the feeling, you didn't appreciate me when I was teaching here, so don't make a lot of hoopla as I prepare to retire. That's not possible. Like it or not, everyone will desperately need and want to share this special moment with you. Some of them may be experiencing a little jealousy or wishful thinking. I wish I was there. The second your retirement is posted, your friends will start collecting for gifts and maybe even begin speech writing for a roast or two. So who do you have to notify? Number one, your school administration, and better follow your teacher's contract carefully. To receive full benefits and bonuses, you usually have to give a predetermined notice before the end of the school year or your last day of employment. Mine, I had to notify my superintendent by February if I was planning to retire by the end of the year. I've heard it range from 3 to 8 months. So take a look at your contract. Before the rumor spread, please tell your music students, the people you see every day. My school board members helped me on the musicals that I was directing and producing. I was also the pit director. And since I was notifying everybody in February, and our show opens in March, first week of March, long time before. Nice when the phone rings in a video. My school board members would have been notified on, I think, the third Monday in February. There was nothing I could do that the cat would be out of the bag, as they say. So let your students know ahead of time. And a note to your music parents or stopping by a music booster meeting would be much appreciated. They would appreciate hearing it from you directly. And finally, your colleagues. Let the partying begin. Be prepared for a celebration for each building in which you teach. I was in 3 different buildings, and there were 3 different parties in the building and one for the school district on the last day of schools. Better prepare your speeches. Going back to the kids, treating them with kid gloves. Be sensitive to your students' concerns and apprehensions. Dissuade any feelings of guilt or abandonment, and alleviate their unsubstantiated fears for the future of the music program. This announcement and the transition may be hard on your students, so be upfront and as early as possible with this notice. You know that no one enjoys or embraces change gracefully. I remember providing a few lectures on the benefits of adaptability and patience and the role of student leadership in the process. I taught strings, grades 5 through 12, and it was important for me to talk to each of my ensemble students. It doesn't really matter how well you handle this. A few may still take it personally or feel they somehow were responsible for you leaving. And I would definitely say encourage them to support and assist the new hire, continue their enrollment in the class, and maintain their record and reputation of positive behavior, motivation, and participation in the program. You may not need this, but keep your ego out of this. No matter how you perceive your popularity with the kids. A wise man once told me, 30% of them will be upset at you leaving, 30%. 30% of them will be happy or at least interested in someone new taking over your position, and 40% of them will be ambivalent. Now would be a good time to archive your time in education, as they say, your first career. Define your legacy for posterity in your own words, sort of like writing your own obituary. Reflect on and frame your career in music education. It is a good mental health exercise for recent retirees to look backwards and bask in a little personal gratification self-esteem, and peace of mind for their contributions to the profession. Yes, you deserve to be proud. It also helps to bring some closure to this whole process. What do you want to be remembered for? I was a little disappointed when one of my principals showed he didn't really know me very well at our last faculty meeting and my final send-off. In his speech, he focused on my tendency for long and sometimes passionate emails as the single greatest contribution to 33 years in his building. You should probably frame this yourself. We want to suggest you sign up for the PMEA Retiree Resource Registry and stay connected with your colleagues. Now, one of the advantages of, we call it the R3, it archives your professional assignments, accomplishments, special talents, and interests. So it actually serves as a proverbial who's who directory of past leaders in Pennsylvania music programs. R3 is a list of informal mentors and consultants who can assist PMEA members and officers' council representatives, as well as newly hired music educators, recent transferees who are suddenly thrust into unfamiliar teaching assignments of new subject skills or specialties. Go up to the PMEA retired member website and click on the R3 and look at these names. These are, I call them VIPs, people who are ready at a drop of a hat to provide free advice on anything from choral warm-ups to selecting an elementary orff instrument to marching band shows, you name it. They're all under specialties. We hope you do stay involved as a member in PMEA, have a voice, and keep your finger on the pulse of what you've actually devoted your whole life to, music and education. Besides, there are so many opportunities as well as benefits to stay as active as you want. We have here a set of bullets here that might show some of the benefits. Feature articles about you in PMEA News and in the Retired Member Network e-News. Every spring conference, we have a retired member breakfast meeting. We also have at least one session on retirement. And we man the PMEA info desk, which is right next to the registration booths. We act as a little bit like the Walmart greeter for our conferences, help people find their sessions and sign up for everything. On the website, you'll notice the PMEA retired members have created lists of community bands, choirs, orchestras, and theater groups, and anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania to continue our artistry. And we've actually recently started a PMEA member published works catalog, trying to keep up with all of our talented composers. Of course, there are special discounts for membership and registrations. I seem to recall I've paid as little as $5 or $10 to go to a regular PMEA state conference. Do you remember when you paid over $100? And you have representation on the Pennsylvania Music Educators State Council for Teacher Training, Recruitment, and Retention. You do need PMEA for the satisfaction of finding purpose, community, and structure in retirement, recognition and archival of your past and current achievements, sessions for retirees, and to build on brain-engaging outlets for learning, leadership, advocacy, encore career development, and service. In return, PMEA needs you as mentors, advisors, volunteers, advocates, presenters, adjudicators, conductors, accompanists, leaders, you name it. And speaking of PMEA, this is important. We lose more colleagues due to their change in status when you retire. Before this happens, please contact one member of the PMEA office staff, such as Administrative Assistant Kelly Gressley, there's her email, and share your personal or household email address along with your membership ID number. This avoids you accidentally dropping off the face of the earth once you retire and your school district inactivates your school email. This happens every year. Go to the PMEA and NAFME websites, log in to manage your online profile, and make any changes as needed. For example, add your email address, say you've moved, new mailing address, etc. You may have to do that both on the PMEA website and the NAFME websites. You still may have some questions, so keep in mind, anytime you have any of them, contact the PMEA office, contact me. One thing you should never do, though, is unsubscribe to PMEA notifications. Those are sent via email. This is how they run their elections, and the votes are tallied. News and advocacy alerts and other information are distributed. You really need to, and if you don't want to do anything, that's great, but I would not unsubscribe to PMEA notifications. By watching this video, you are already miles ahead of the game. There are a couple more things you can do. I would suggest coming to a full-blown retirement session at the next PMEA conference. You can go to, we have several different sessions. We had a couple in the summer, and we have a new one coming up for the NAFME PMEA Eastern Division conference. We're bringing in a guest speaker. So go to a retirement session. Here are 2 blog posts really suited for newcomers to retirement prep. T-3 years and counting, and PMEA and retirement, what's in it for me? And of course, these are on that ultimate retiree guide we talked about. And again, there's my email address if you have any questions. We're here for you. We hope you've noticed that Heard Through the Vintage Grapevine column and other retired members' contributions in our state journal. Here are some of those past articles, and as a member, you have access to all of these archived at that link. Some of these are very inspirational. I hope you'll read through some of them. So now this looks like slide number 5, a hoop snake, an automatic restart. I think they call that a kernel panic on the Macintosh. Feel free to return to slide number 5 or any part of this video and review everything over and over again. Let me be the first to wish you a happy, healthy, and meaningful retirement. Please keep in touch. Thanks.